Well, speaking of interesting developments around all of this, I think there is another one. And this is sort of the wide other end of the spectrum. A company called Pin AI, not to be confused with Humane's AI Pin, which we don't have that in our news lineup. But if you missed it, they just got, well, the pieces, I guess, just got acquired by HPE. So one of our first sort of high profile fails in the AI space. In either case, Pin AI is really just launching, and it almost defies explanation. It's really hard to understand what this is, but effectively it's a personal assistant that has an LLM, or I'm guessing it's more of an SLM, that's personalized and runs like on a device. And the fundamentals idea behind it is very similar to what Apple Intelligence is trying to pitch, except agnostically, right? So without having to be relying on Apple products, with the idea being that you can deliver this highly personalized service um, using this AI that has access to all of your data and can do that securely because it's running locally on your device, which presumably would be a phone or a computer or whatever it might be, but it has access to all of that. Um, and so the example that the article gives is that you could tell this AI to buy a gift for your mom, and it has all the contextual awareness of, it knows who your mother is, it maybe knows what she likes, knows the stores that you have an account with, has access to your credit card, can literally do this whole thing. I think it's pretty Nirvana-y at the moment to express that. But what I do think is interesting, and the reason I wanted to bring this article up, is that I do think this is directionally where it's all going. I'm certainly what we're doing in Symphony. I think what we're seeing evolve in the entire market is this idea that we need context. That for any of this to go beyond what the simple OpenAI chatbot get truly useful, we need that context. And as we start introducing this idea of personalized context, it's a slippery slope that we have to deal with all of these challenges of both efficacy as well as security and privacy. And it's a very difficult challenge. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I'm glad to see they're out there. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the market reacts and responds. And if people get like, oh, that's just cool, I can't wait. Or if they go, oh, hell no, I don't want it having that level of information access. So, I mean, what was your take on this particular announcement?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they do have some level of usage already, at least for the app and model part of their offering. So they seem to have figured out some sort of use case. But I also agree that the bigger picture is that AI is becoming more about personalization, about context, and about trust. So personalization without trust just means you feel like you're being stalked or you're being overseen, which is not necessarily the right feel for AI that should be productive. It might be the AI that the CEO wants, but it's not the AI that the workers want. So if you want the workers to use this AI, it needs to feel trusted and more organic in nature, in terms of when you're using it, where you're using it, how you're using it. So we'll see how this pin works specifically, but I don't disagree with the basic approach.
Yeah, and I should say the PIN part is meant to imply like your personal identification number, right? That's
Yes,
what they're trying to
the
imply. This
intelligence
idea.
network. Yes,
Yeah,
personalized
yeah.
intelligence network. Yes,
No,
not.
yeah, but I'm saying I'm like keying into that same idea that we have a PIN. That PIN is personal to us and unlocks our personal data, right? That sort of reference. At least that's how I took it. But
Right.
I do think it's interesting as well because the other part about this is that the way they're doing some of this. Because again, if we contrast this with Apple's approach, part of the reason Apple is talking about being able to do things that they think that they're claiming they'll be able to do with Apple Intelligence is because it's a closed ecosystem that they control.
Mhm.
And so therefore they have all this. Well, for anyone that's not Apple, if you don't have that closed ecosystem, that walled garden, then how do you do that? Well, they're doing it via blockchain, something that other than talking about crypto, which, thanks to the Trump administration got this sort of bump, we haven't really
Mhm.
talked about blockchain in a while. It was another one of these hyped up technologies sort of came and then faded. And so it's interesting that they're using blockchain for this, which introduces its own set of issues. Part of the reason that blockchain sort of lost that luster is because of the overhead and the latency with running blockchain transactions, particularly
Mhm.
at scale. So it's really curious to see how that part will develop. But all that aside, I do think that this is directionally where it's going, whether this particular implementation is the one that wins or not. I think that if you're a CIO, if you're a tech vendor, this is something you need to be paying attention to because this is, I think, where everything is headed.
Yeah, I might actually be a little concerned about the blockchain use case in this particular instance, just because it doesn't scale very well from a speed perspective. You're limited to you typically around 8 transactions per second. If you haven't figured out how to parallelize it to some extent, so I'll be interested in that part as well. But uh, we'll see if they have to upgrade that over time.